What's up, welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of The Punisher: One Last Kill, directed by Ronaldo Marcus Green, starring Jon Bernthal, written by Green and Bernthal. This, of course, is the return of Marvel's Frank Castle / The Punisher that Bernthal originated back on the Netflix iteration of Marvel Television for a 2-season run. He then reprised that role in the season finale of Daredevil Born Again Season 1 last year. We are just 1 week out from the conclusion of Born Again Season 2, where Frank Castle did not appear, but we knew that they were making this Marvel special presentation. This is the third of those special presentations on Disney Plus, following Werewolf by Night and the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. I do appreciate these one-off, usually sub 60-minute short films / single episode things that Marvel Studios can do on Disney Plus. I actually think it's a methodical and concentrated way to keep that storytelling going in some manner on the streaming platform in a way that actually makes sense. With the conclusion of Daredevil, we've been talking about Marvel largely abandoning the live action storytelling on Disney Plus. Disney also doing the same thing with Star Wars, it seems. We've since got the dates that Vision Quest will be premiering in the fall and Ahsoka will be premiering in early 2027, but there's really not a lot on the horizon. So when you get something like Punisher: One Last Kill, you actually should kind of cherish it if this is something you like, because the pandemic days of the MCU on Disney Plus are long gone at this point. Curiously, despite the title of this special, One Last Kill, we know that Bernthal is reprising the role of Punisher once again in Spider-Man Brand New Day, coming out in July this year, because we saw him in the trailer. So I'm really curious how that's going to shake out, how consequential, how meaningful that appearance ends up being. And of course, it's not exactly illogical that that would happen, given all these stories are taking place in Marvel's New York City. And of course, Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock did appear in the previous Spider-Man film, which was the signal that they were officially bringing back in all the Netflix characters into the formal MCU fold. Nonetheless, here we are. I quite enjoyed The Punisher: One Last Kill because this Marvel special presentation knows exactly what it's trying to be. 48 minutes long. It has a really clear point of view and goals that it's trying to achieve with this brief story. Jon Bernthal's Frank Castle was a broken man, clearly suffering from PTSD. He's been through a lot. We've seen him been through a lot. If you've watched the first 2 seasons of that show, seen what his character's been through, losing his family. Early on, we see him lock away all of his weapons in a safe and go visit the graves of his family. But when a past foe wants revenge against him, he has no choice but to fight his way out. And watching Jon Bernthal's Punisher fight his way out for the majority of this runtime, a good 25-30 minutes of this special, is Jon Bernthal kicking ass in completely R-rated fashion. It's a familiar yet effective framing that we recently saw in John Wick, where basically the whole neighborhood gets sicked upon the character when the bounty is placed on their head, and as a result they have to fight their way out, using the weapons of their dead enemies, improvising however they can, taking damage along the way. If you like Punisher action, this is exactly what you want, and I think it's really credible. Breaking arms, slitting throats, headshots, jumping off buildings, killing people with pens, whatever you can think of, he's basically done it. Is there much beyond the surface of this in terms of the writing, in terms of the subtext? No, not really, and I think that's why this made perfect sense as a one-off special. You can just take it for what it is, equate it to a more action-packed Punisher comic story. The Punisher: One Last Kill has gone viral for unfortunate reasons regarding an unfinished VFX shot, and I find that particularly troubling because it was actually a practical effect of a stuntman falling off a building, and the face swapping of the stuntman with Jon Bernthal's appearance is what led to the issues. Obviously, there's a quality control issue with something like that getting out, not that we haven't seen this before with streaming, but why exactly was Marvel married to releasing this exactly 1 week after Daredevil Born Again Season 2's finale? What exactly was the rush with Spider-Man not coming out till the end of July? Given this was a one-off special, would it really been a problem to delay this an extra week? We do know that there's been job cuts at the VFX departments over at Marvel and Disney, AI cited as a cause with that. AI can't do everything. Here's a good example of it. There was also reports of audio issues, specifically I think with the mix. I didn't personally notice it. I'm curious if that was quickly fixed. Someone could point out exactly what that was. Let me know. Either way, that's something that obviously gets rectified quickly in the case of streaming, where they can just re-render everything. So it's not a huge concern. It's just kind of odd that a mistake like that would fall through, because I don't I think it's unfortunate that the show is getting that kind of negative attention or clowning, because I do think this broadly delivers exactly what you're asking for. It's not particularly deep. There's nothing extra there, but I like seeing Frank go through the PTSD, and we actually see it manifested, him seeing visions of his past Marine comrades. We watch him cross out his Marine tattoo with a knife. You know, he sees a vision of Deborah Ann Woll's Karen Page, of course, from Daredevil, who was also on the Punisher show on Netflix. I think just the pain and the struggle is made clear in terms of, you know, just kind of the visceral energy and the literal manifestation of the PTSD. Of course, Jon Bernthal playing a more rugged Frank throughout this special with, you know, a longer hair, a gruffer beard. He's very cleaned up at the very end, back in the formal Punisher getup, you know, with the skull, chest plate and everything everyone knows. And you'll see that in the marketing, but that's not actually the version of the Punisher that you see for the majority of the special here. I believe that's the version we'll see in the Spider-Man movie. Nonetheless, I was happy with it. You know, the matriarch of the Italian crime family that is seeking revenge against Frank for killing all of her family members. Frank, of course, seeking his own revenge for the death of his family. The way she kind of approaches him and does, you know, lays out his ultimatum, you know, at this time everyone's going to come for you. It's a bit thick. It's a bit literal. It's a bit heavy-handed for sure. Judith Light doing the spiel there. It's like trying to evoke Olenna Tyrell from Game of Thrones, R.I.P. Diana Rigg. It's just not done in nearly a sophisticated way. You know, this was written by Ronald Marcus Green, of course, accomplished director, and Bernthal himself. And obviously Bernthal has achieved a lot of accolades for embodying Frank Castle in The Punisher. And I think he's pretty consistently held up as one of the best, you know, comic to screen, you know, casting, you know, additions, right? I think right alongside Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark, Chris Evans' Captain America. I think right there you would put Bernthal's Frank Castle, right? So you feel like he has a handle on the character. And to be charitable, there's not a ton of room to really accomplish too much in this runtime, given that you're trying to dedicate a lot of it to the action. I think at the end of the day, that is the number one attraction with one of these things. And this was a really effective and enjoyable return to form. You know, apart from the Daredevil finale last year, we'd have to go all the way back to 2019 when the second season of The Punisher came out. So it's been a long time to really see, you know, Bernthal kick that ass. But I think he does a really good job embodying that, you know, visceral style of performance. And, you know, he's been busy in I think an amusing way. I hadn't quite put this together, but Jon Bernthal was just on Broadway doing Dog Day Afternoon with, of course, Evan Moss Baccarat, who we know from The Bear. Bernthal and Baccarat were just in a secret surprise released bonus episode of The Bear on FX, where, of course, they've shared a lot of screen time together, with Bernthal playing the deceased brother of Jeremy Allen White's Carm. And then I actually hadn't put this together, but Evan Moss Baccarat plays Micro on the Punisher series back in Netflix. So they have actually quite the camaraderie and working partnership together, which is pretty cool. And now they're both in the MCU fold properly, with, of course, Evan Moss Baccarat being cast as the Thing in Fantastic Four next year. So who knows? Maybe they'll cross paths in Secret Wars. Who can say? But yeah, let me know what you think of the Punisher One Last Kill special. Did you like this for what it was? What do you think of him appearing in Spider-Man in 2 months? Where are you at with that? Do you want to see more of Bernthal? Frankly, I think after a multiversal reset that we expect to happen with Secret Wars, I wouldn't be shocked if they keep Bernthal in the role and eventually bring him back in some regard. Well, why not? If you want to bring him back, I don't know how you could really do much better than what you've been doing. Let me know where you're at with this. And let me know where you're at with Daredevil Born Again Season 2, which I also just reviewed. And for more TV reviews, subscribe. And I'll see you next time.